So today we'll be taking a look at Paper Rex versus Team Heretics on Breeze. I made a video about how Paper Rex used Harbor on Fracture, and a lot of you, mentioned, oh, well, they also played it on Breeze. Can we get a video about that? And so here is that video of Paper Rex using Harbor on Breeze. Other than that, they're running, nothing too crazy of a comp. They are running Reyna, but other than that, Sova, Chamber, Jet, obviously Jing is playing Reyna here. Normally that would be maybe a KO or a Sky, but basically Harbor is just a one-for-one replacement for Viper in what Paper Rex were doing, and so let's take a look at how they used it. I will start here with round number 7, and Paper Rex are on the defensive side here, and Team Heretics are basically going to group up. This is actually a save for them, other than the fact that they have an up, and they're going to just come towards this B site. So let's see what happens as they'll start to come in onto the site fairly quickly. As you see, you got the knives there from the Jet as well. In goes Kellogg's, in goes KO knife. They come in pretty quick. Forsaken hits a nice shot. Benkai's also going to manage to get a kill as well. And so we end up very quickly in a 5v3. Good little dart here from Benkai, as you will see, just towards the back of the site. That's going to actually reveal, I think, all 3 of the members of Heretics, as you will see. But a good recon themselves here from Heretics that lands actually manages to get the kill on Forsaken as well. So we end up in this situation, a 4v3. And, well, here is the Harbor coming in now, because my freak, as you can see, has just started to put across this wall on the map just there, and it kind of goes across the site, as you can see, and just gives them kind of a lane of entry here, Paper Rex, to come and, get pretty deep onto the site and kind of close the gap to these players. The Spike's actually lost in main, so this round was already kind of, not going to go too well. But Benkai actually manages to get another kill as well just down here. And then we've also got the Harbor ult. And what I'm about to say might surprise some of you. But this Harbor ult and the way it kind of is used and the way I kind of see it being used in games, it actually reminds me mostly of a Sova ult. And you might be thinking, what on earth are you talking about? Because, they're quite different in terms of what they do overall. But what I mean by that is you're going to see that in this round as well, and I think as we go forward, as it gets used more often, is that a Harbor ult and a Sova ult, I would call them Chaos ults, right? They're both pretty noisy. They're both kind of, something that your opponent has to try and avoid and move around, like, rather than being, like, entrenched in a position, right? It kind of reminds me a lot of that because of, like, it just creates chaos, right? As these Paper X players are coming in now, right? These 2 players for Heretics, they're having to move about. That it's loud, they can't hear anything, right? And these Paper X players can just run in at them. And so that is kind of, like, there's some similarities there to a Sova, and we can see the effects that it has right here. As we are now in this 4v2, you see Zeke is kind of in a lot of trouble. That Cascade Wave comes towards him as well. You see he's getting stunned up. He doesn't really even know where he is. He gets revealed as well. Mixwell does actually manage to find the kill on Mindfreak before getting stunned himself. Zeke eventually dies just there. Mixwell does manage to sneak himself into that position, but then it dies as well. And so we see, kind of what I think, most people foresaw with Harbor, that, these retakes are kind of one of the main, ways of using Harbor. He doesn't have a lot of stopping power himself, but, he can create lanes for avenues for people to come down in, right, with the Cascade Wall there as well. The ult can, as I say, create some chaos, even if it's not the best ult in the game, right? It can create chaos on the site, and it did just that there, and Paper X win the round. And now let's come to the very next round as well, where it's going to play out, much the same. Heretics, again, just kind of grouping up and going towards B after a timeout. And, well, they are going to manage to get onto the site here, as you will see. In goes the drone, knife for close. KO comes in as well, and they're just going to basically run it in. Divide does get revealed and can't quite escape, and Kellogg's manages to get the first kill. Now, Zeke's decision here is, let's call it an interesting one. They have a Viper's Pit down on the site as well, as you can just see here on the map. And so Zeke choosing to, I mean, when you just look at the map, you quite quickly see that, oh yeah, this probably wasn't the best decision in a 5v4 with a Viper's Pit down when we've already got the site, right? Like, KO completely on their own, flashing through their own Viper wall into what is 3 Paper Rex players, whilst the rest of your team is all the way back here. Yeah, maybe my advice would be, you don't have to be a hero every round. I think a lot of players struggle with this, right? They want to just go and make plays and get kills, but, at this point, that probably wasn't the best decision, and so they do manage to get the kill. And still, 4v4 with the Viper's Pit down, Heretics, it still seems, are in a pretty good place. Sova drone comes in, and Benkai just checks close here, and he doesn't see that anyone is there. So now, it's going to be pretty tough for Paper Rex to come in on this retake. But we're going to get some Harbor stuff going on right here, because in comes the Cascade, as you can see just there. And it's actually before the Harbor buff, so they only have one Cascade in this instance. That just cuts off this angle just here, so that Cascade is gone there. And also, we're not going to see it on the actual broadcast here, but there's going to be a cove that's kind of just thrown in there as well. So both bits of Harbor utility just kind of used in that Viper's Pit to kind of section people off. Rain of Flash goes into it as well. And what you're going to see here is, just in a second, when Forsaken gets this kill on Mixwell, is this. Right, you can see that we're inside this cove here, and the Jing is here as well. And so what this cove is doing is it's just blocking the line of sight of Avova here, who's on this Viper, right? It kind of just, again, creates just a bit of chaos, right? We've got the Cascade wall over there. We're inside the cove as well. We're just kind of blocking off angles and sight lines. And so Jing is able to actually get into that Viper's Pit, get the kill, drop the Viper's Pit, come down, jumps, does that as well because he's Jing. And now Paper Rex will actually manage to win this round. And I do think that, we saw again in these retakes that this is kind of where that Harbor is probably going to thrive most. Creating just a bit of chaos, right? Denying line of sights in something like a Viper's Pit. When Avova is sitting in that cove, he doesn't know if Jing's going to come from any other angle, right? Inside that cove. So, good use of it there for Paper Rex, and they would go on to win this round. But now let's come to the attacking side for Paper Rex, and actually they're going to do much the same as the Heretics did as well, where they're just going to go for a pretty fast B-exec overall here, go for the site and try and get in pretty quick, as you will see. And we're going to see probably the best Cascade usage we've seen in pro play. In fact, definitely the best Cascade usage we've seen in pro play. So when they come, right, and we've got Forsaken just dashing in onto the site just here with the jet smokes and whatnot. And you can see here, we've just got this Cascade wave that is pushing up this way, right? And so you've got Mixwell here holding with an op, as you can see, down this way. But Mixwell, I think, in his mind here, what he's going to do is, because he sees that this Cascade wall is coming his way, and obviously that's going to block his line of sight with an op, so, he probably feels like it's a bit useless to watch this side with an op. So what he's going to do is he's going to move over to the other side of the pillar and try and watch that. But Forsaken is going to come and use this Cascade as cover to sneak up kind of behind Mixwell, or right underneath his nose. You see, as he just moves to the other side as that Cascade is coming, he comes up, sneaks behind him, manages to get that first kill. But then also what we're going to see is this wall continues going, right? So Avova's in this fight with Jing, and Avova is going to win this fight with Jing. But Avova is going to turn and come back just before he sees Forsaken, I think just because this Cascade wall just slightly juts out just there. He's just going to miss Forsaken, as you will see after he gets this kill. So there goes the kill, and look, he turns just as Forsaken was coming around that corner. So he doesn't know that he's there either, and guess what? Forsaken just sneaks all the way around, gets himself a free kill, and now we end up in this 4v3. It's a 4v3 that Paper Rex will go on to convert as well. Devi is actually on the other side of the map. He manages to get a kill here on Zeke as well from all the way back here. So the lurk pays off for Paper Rex as well. They get that kill. End up in a 4v2. They managed to get Boo down there. And we end up in this 3v1. And, well, a little cove goes onto Kellogg's, who does manage to hit this shot, which is pretty impressive. But then eventually Forsaken is just going to wait for him, as you can see there, and manage to find that final kill and win the round for Paper Rex. Now let's move on to round number 19, and I would say if you are going to play Harbor on Breeze, I think probably the most impactful position you can play in is where Mindfreak is right here. And the reason is thus, because Mindfreak is going to send a Cascade wall that goes down and, ends up down towards the end of hole just there to allow him, to potentially open the door and create some chaos from this spot. Obviously, if you can control hole with a nice Cascade as well, you can then obviously, as we're going to see in this round, draw any kind of wall you want across the A site as well. But what I like about this position as well is you can also do a different Cascade, right? You could do one from here potentially that goes out this way and potentially blocks off the line of sight from short as well, and potentially do a kind of A split like that. And so it just keeps your options open. Obviously, you can do a kind of normal wall that we see across from this position as well. So there's just kind of like options from this area, right? You can do these Cascades that I think are going to be pretty good. You can create some chaos in those areas. And now that there are two Cascades, you could probably start off every single round if you wanted to with something like that, or with something like that, and just create some pressure, in these areas as just kind of a default look every single round. So if you do want to play Harbor, I would suggest that, but that's pretty much what we're going to see here, as you will see. Mindfreak just does a quick jump peek just there, but now he's going to send down this cascade, as you can see just there, and then he's going to ult the site as well, and that's kind of another thing you could do. You know, you're going to see that we do get this ult in onto site, and it covers, you know, a pretty good portion of this A site as well, this Harbor ult. So, you know, that definitely is a decent use of it there, and obviously, again, it's going to allow Paper Rex to attack. One, I think the problems with a Harbor ult is on, like, some tight, congested spaces, you know, these stuns can actually end up stunning you, like as it's trying to stun an enemy, you're right next to them and you get stunned as well as a teammate. Luckily on Breeze, I think, you know, you're probably going to avoid that situation because of how big the site is, and so you're going to see that Zeke basically ends up in a world of trouble here with the Harbor ult going off as well, as they scale in onto the site for Paper Rex. You see the wall is up, he actually gets revealed, he's trying to avoid the stuns, he actually ults himself, but then dies. Now, actually, Heretics are going to manage to win this round. They do pretty well here overall. And a crucial part of this is that Mindfreak, unfortunately, isn't able to get that kill, as you will see. So, yeah, they group up. They end up in this 4v4 essentially with Zeke down, but Mindfreak unable to get this kill here as Mixwell manages to find Forsaken as well with his chamber ult. We actually end up in a 2v4, and yeah, Heretics, you know, do pretty well here to play as a team. They kind of, you know, scale up as a team, as you will see towards these last two players. And well, yeah, they will manage to win the round as Devi has to TP away there. And look at them, you know, being very cautious, checking all of the different angles, holding for each other as well. So even Viper's Pit, they managed to get that kill. And at this point, it's just very well played by Heretics on the retake. But I think we did see, you know, the potential maybe of Harbor, some of those things that you want to be doing from that positions at the bottom of Hall. I think there are options there for teams to take and for you to potentially take as well. And then finally, let's come to the last round, round number 23. And I mentioned that the Harbor ult and the Silver ult can create some chaos. Well, actually, Paper Rex are going to use both in this round, as you will see. They're, again, just going to go for this kind of, you know, group up and go B play, as you will see. But they're going to put a little variation on it, as you will just see, because they're going to go pretty fast here, as Paper Rex are want to do. They put the Harbor ult, Harbor wall, sorry, you know, a bit shallow, I would say, overall. But then the Silver ult's going to come in. There goes the Harbor ult as well. You can see Benkai is going to Silver ult here, and he's actually going to manage to find Boo. And the thing is, you know, you've got Paper Rex also. I mean, there was 3 players on this site. Obviously, one has just died. These guys are just going to sprint up Forsaken and Jing down, actually, through Elbow instead. And you've got Mindfreak who's going to come in this way as well. So Boo did manage to just get a Silver Dart off, but it's not really going to matter because in come these guys here. You see Forsaken's already deep on the site. He almost finds the kill on Kellogg's. You're going to see that Avova is having to move around as well. He actually does get hit by the stun there, giving Mindfreak a pretty easy kill. And Kellogg's, I mean, you know, he's like that meme of the guy, you know, just going crazy. Because at this point, you know, he's being surrounded. I mean, look at where Jing is. You know, Jing's all the way back here already. And at this point, you know, they're just going crazy. Actually, Forsaken jumps on the top of him, right-clicks him, gets that kill. Zeke does do well to fight back. And we actually end up in a 3v2, and it looks like, you know, ooh, things might be a bit, you know, close here, but then they wait for Divide to get the free kill there on Mixwell. We end up in a 3v1, and Forsaken will actually end up winning it with a classic. And so Paper Rex would win this game against Heretics. They would win this map, as you can see. And the Harbor overall, let me just give my overall impressions of this. Was Harbor, like, the winning factor on this map? No. Was he, you know, terrible? No. Right, he was just kind of okay. I would say in general, you're probably still going to get more from Viper on Breeze than you would Harbor, but it's not terrible, right? It's serviceable, it's okay. I don't think it's like trolling to pick Harbor on Breeze. It's fine. There's probably some interesting things that you can do with him that no one has really thought about yet or discovered yet, so we'll just have to see. In my opinion, it's fine, and we'll have to see how it goes.